read the title, the thumbnail. Thank you, Jordan, for that incredible thumbnail. All or nothing. And I got a lot to talk about on top of my spiel about it being all or nothing. What is up, fans? Hope you guys are having a fantastic Thursday. There is no football today because Thursday night football is over, and God, has this season been horrible Thursday night football games. But I cannot stop thinking about Sunday's game and how we got here, how important it is, so many different things that I needed to make this video, and I needed to get a lot of things off my chest about how important this game is for the Miami Dolphins. To me, it's more important to the Dolphins, to Tua, than it is to the Bills and Josh Allen, and I'll get into that. But I wanted to talk about a few more things before that. First and foremost, everyone heard yesterday about Tyreek Hill's house catching fire. Thankfully, no one was injured. His whole family got out. He left practice on yesterday, Wednesday, to be with his family. It was consolidated to just one room. They don't know how the fire started, but everyone is safe and okay, which is fantastic to hear. And again, I'm just very happy to hear that no one's hurt, and he can, losing possessions is fine. Losing people is where it would take a toll, and him just losing a room in his house is fine compared to him losing a loved one. So again, I'm very happy that it's just the house that has damage and not his family. So good news there. On the other train, on the good news train, Faplam, the Pro Bowl was announced, and we have 6 Pro Bowlers. Tua Tagovailoa. He was named a number 1 quarterback. I think he was the first string quarterback named. It was him, Lamar Jackson, and Patty Mahomes. He's not an alternate. He goes in there. He wasn't I think he was the 3rd or 4th fan voted, so he wasn't a top fan voted. And the way the Pro Bowl works is 1/3 of it is fan voting, 1/3 of it is coaches, and 1/3 of it is players. Now, when I look at Pro Bowl, I'm like, oh, that's cool. Good for them. I think all pro voting is a little bit more important to me than Pro Bowl, because Pro Bowl is kind of a popularity contest, especially last year with Xavier Howard making the Pro Bowl, and we're like, huh? But as you can see there, Tua Tagovailoa made it, Tyreek Hill made it, Jalen Ramsey, Teron Armstead, Raheem Mostert, good for him, and Alec Ingold. And the little asterisk is starters. So Tua's the starter, Tyreek's the starter, Raheem's the starter, and Alec Ingold is the starter, which is awesome. Meaning, obviously, he got the votes from the fans. And last year, Tua got I think it was the most votes, but he didn't make it. And now this year, it seems like his peers and the other coaches are recognizing how well he did this year. So he got the nod, and obviously Tyreek is going to be a starter. Alec Ingold getting in there is fantastic. The same thing with Raheem Mostert. But also, there was alternates. Now, some of these alternates are like, really? They're obviously not going to play. But Bradley Chubb is the first alternate, which means, he was right on the cusp of making the Pro Bowl. Christian Wilkins was the second alternate. To me, that's a little bit like, really? Because I think, if off the top of my head, I think he's like second in defensive tackles among sacks, because he's at like 8.5 now. Jalen Waddle's the third alternate, which is pretty cool. Javon Holland being the third alternate. I think he should be a little higher than that. Blake Ferguson is the third alternate. Austin Jackson, the fourth alternate. Good for him. Durham Smythe, the fourth alternate. Geez, good for him. Xavier Howard, Braxton Berrios, Robert Hunt, a fifth alternate. Connor Williams, a fifth alternate. Obviously, he will not be playing. And Zach Sealer, a fifth alternate. So we had a lot of Pro Bowl votes. But when you look at our starters, like I said, it's cool that Tua got in there. It's been since 1995 that we've had a starter, one of our quarterbacks be a starting Pro Bowler. 1995. It's going to be, 30 years next year? Crazy, absolutely crazy. But there's your Pro Bowl selection. Again, I take Pro Bowl with a grain of salt. It's cool, and there is some recognition there, but to me, getting All Pro is where it's at. Now, let's get to the meat and potatoes of this video, because Sunday's game is more important than anything. Now, Bill fans are talking spicy, and they beat the Cowboys, they beat the Chiefs, they beat some pretty good teams. They also skirted by some pretty bad teams, like the New York Giants with no penalty called, barely beating the Patriots, barely beating the Chargers. Like there's some, they've had a very up and down season where the Dolphins have consistently beat bad teams up to the Tennessee game and kind of, pulled a struggle bus city against the good teams. But the Bill fans are chirping. And hey, chirp. We had a 3-game lead on the division. We let it squander to now only having a 1 game because we couldn't take care of business against the Tennessee Titans, being up 15 points. Like, it is what it is. We screwed that up. We beat that Tennessee Titan team. We're not sitting in this situation. We would have clinched after beating the Cowboys and got the East at that point. And then after losing to the Ravens, we would have sat our starters in this game. But we didn't. We couldn't take care of business, and now we're at this point. And that's why the title of this video is All or Nothing. Like, this is it. Now, obviously, we're in the playoffs. So if we lose, we're still going to the playoffs. I think we travel to Kansas City if we lose. Let me look that up. We'll look that up real quick. But I think that's what would happen. I think we would travel to Kansas City if we lost the game. So let's do this, Mama Jam. So we'll do this real quick. Say we lose, say Jacksonville wins. I could see the Steelers winning, but say the Ravens are like, hey, we don't want to have 2 weeks off, and they win. And then I think the Colts will win that one. I think bam, Patriots. Yeah, we would head to Kansas City. I think the only way we wouldn't head to I think Kansas City's a lock in the number 3 seed. So we lose this game, we're heading to Kansas City, another cold game. But again, we win the game, we might have back-to-back weeks unless the Steelers win and knocks the Bills out of the playoffs. But we put ourselves in this situation. We didn't finish against the Tennessee Titans. And the Ravens game is the Ravens game. Outside of Bradley Chubb getting hurt, I'm not as about that game. Ravens are the best team in the NFL. They smacked the 49ers in the mouth. They went out and smacked a lot of Detroit in the mouth, a lot of good teams in the mouth. The Ravens are that team. I just wish the Dolphins would have competed more. But this is it. And this is it for a lot of different aspects. And I'm going to talk more about this tomorrow in my preview video. But I'm going to focus on some things that I might not talk about tomorrow. And that's like Tua Tagovailoa. He is on his 5th year, which we picked up next year. And it's like $20-something million. And the Dolphins very easily could give him a contract extension and save a ton of cap space by doing that to be able to build off of the success of this season and continue to get better. But it gets to a point where it's like, you need to show us, Tua. Now, he has been playing really good, obviously Pro Bowl level all season. Has he had his ups and downs? Of course. Every quarterback in the NFL has had their ups and downs. But he is the leading passer. He, I think, is leading in completion percentage. I know he is top 5 in touchdowns thrown. Like, he top 2 in quarterback rating. Like, he is Pro Bowl season. But all of that means nothing if you can't get the job done. And you're home against your division rival. You need to get the job done. You want that contract extension. You want to get the backing of the organization, which they are already backing him, but also the fan base and that section of the fan base that doesn't think he can do it. You need to do it. All or nothing in this game, because you get the number 2 seed, it will help you. And I've heard people say, why don't we just rest our starters since we're going to be playing next week and yada, yada. Because the difference between traveling on the road in the playoffs and playing at home in the playoffs is drastically different. Miami to have to go to Kansas City versus home and potentially hosting the Steelers, if the Steelers and the Jaguars can do what they need to do, is drastically different than having to go to Kansas City, and then if you beat Kansas City, then having to potentially go to Buffalo or go to Baltimore again. It is huge and completely different. But he needs to prove it. But it's not just Tua Tagovailoa, right? It's also Mike McDaniel. It's also, can he make the adjustments throughout the game? Can he do what he needs to do throughout the game? Vic Fangio, can he contain finally? We've had struggles against mobile quarterbacks. Can he contain Josh Allen, who has a lot of tendencies of turning the ball over? You saw him the past 2 weeks. He has not played good. Stephon Diggs has been, he's disappeared. There's a lot that going into this game that obviously Buffalo fans, like I said, are feeling confident. But when you look at it, the Dolphins can take advantage of things. Jerome Baker is coming back. He has been active, not officially activated, but his window, 21-day window, has been initiated. He practiced yesterday. Will he play Sunday? Probably not. Jalen Waddle went through walkthroughs on Wednesday. Will he play on Sunday? I don't know. Raheem Mostert. Like, if we can get these guys, if we can get Waddle, Mostert, and Robert Hunt for Sunday's game, I'll feel better. But again, this game, and I'm going to talk about this, is a little spoiler for tomorrow's video. It might be a shootout, and we need to answer. So it's not just on Tua, but it's some of the play calling on the offense. It's the offensive line. We've always had trouble against Buffalo. Why? They're more physical. Whatever you want to come up with, we've always had trouble against Buffalo. Now is the time to put up or shut up. I've been saying it for 3 weeks. They showed me for 1 week. They didn't for last week. We are 1-1 in the pivotal games of this season, which were the last 3 games of the season. If you remember, after the bye week, we kind of looked at the second half of the schedule, and I said those last 3 games are going to be huge, and the Buffalo game might come down to the division. Well, unfortunately, it did. So now we have to take care of business. We're 1-1 in these games. We beat the Cowboys. We lost to the Ravens. We don't lose at home. The only home game we lost was prime time against the Tennessee Titans on Monday Night Football. Don't lose to the Bills. Now, there's a rumor going around that the Bills are trying to take over the stadium. Hopefully, Dolphin fans, you all show up and you overtake them and you are just as loud for their offense and you help us be quiet for our offense so we can get the snap count down, we can get the motions going, and we can win this game. Everyone needs to play at a high level. And you're going to hear this again tomorrow in the preview. But it's been on my mind. It's been completely on my mind, and I cannot stop thinking about how important this game is. We put ourselves in this situation, and we need to fix it, and we need to win it. It's all or nothing. You win the division, you get the number 2 seed, and potentially knock the Bills out of the playoffs. If it comes down to that, if by 8:20, or I think I'd probably be live at 8:10, 8 o'clock, I go live, and the Steelers beat the Ravens, and the Jaguars beat the Titans. And this game is now for the Buffalo Bills' life in the playoffs. They're going to be playing even harder than versus if one of those teams lose, whether it was the Jaguars or the Saints or the Steelers, which I think it doesn't matter who loses. They'll be the 7th seed. Yeah. They might rest their starters. They might not care. But it would be big to play in Buffalo versus playing at home. But again, if the Dolphins lose and one of these teams lose, it doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter. This is it. This is all that keeps running through my head this is it. Tua, it's time to show that you can win on the big stage in the big moments, because you got a primetime game against a division rival that you've struggled against for the crown, for the AFC East Championship. It is very reminiscent of 2008, and I will talk more about that tomorrow. I don't want to give too much up, but I just wanted to really talk about how important it is, how it's all or nothing, to me anyway. We could lose and then win the following week and finally win a playoff game, and it might feel better. And to you, comment below, would you prefer to win a playoff game than win the East, or vice versa? Comment below. You might be like, hey, I want the East because then we're home and we're the number 2 seed and things could change. Or are you like, hey, as long as we get a playoff win, I'm happy. Comment below. But I'm going to break this down even more tomorrow statistically. The 5 things I got going on, I'm going to give you even more stats, even more, analysis on that. And then I'm going to give you my score prediction. And you'll be surprised. You'll probably not be surprised, but you'll be surprised. But I'll see you guys tomorrow. Let's go, Miami. Shock the world. It's us against the world. I looked at NFL on YouTube. They had their preview. 1 person out of the 10 picked the Dolphins. Nobody has any confidence in us after what happened with us versus the Ravens. If we would have made the Ravens game competitive and lost by 7 or 10, I think it would have been a different world. But we didn't. We got the brakes blown off of us. Got to get this W. Got to get this W. But I'll see you tomorrow. Comment below. What do you guys think? But like usual, stay classy. My fins out.